You didn't choose to click on this video. And before you say, "Of course I did," think about it. How many invisible decisions brought you here? The time you woke up, the moment you grabbed your phone, the previous video you watched. All of it, milliseconds of choices, formed a line that led you to this exact moment. And the most curious part? You think you're in control, but maybe you never were. Today, I'm going to show you what no one tells you about the real-life butterfly effect, and more importantly, what to do when everything feels out of control. Because yes, sometimes a single choice can change your entire destiny, but understanding that is the first step to reclaiming the power you thought you'd lost. Stay until the end, because only then will you see the full picture, and maybe look at your past in a completely different way. Most people believe life is made of big moments. The job, the marriage, the breakup, the firing. But the truth is, life changes in the details. In a yes said without thinking. In a "I'll deal with it later." And that's exactly where the trap lies. We think destiny is an event, when in reality, it's an accumulation of distractions. But almost no one realizes that the butterfly effect isn't just a metaphor, it's a psychological process. And the worst part, the more we try to control everything, the faster we accelerate the small decisions that slowly destroy us. But relax. This isn't about guilt. It's about understanding how you got here and learning to use that same effect in your favor. Because if small choices brought you into chaos, small choices can also lead you out of it. Yet almost no one talks about why we keep repeating the same decisions that hurt us, even when we know they'll go wrong. And that's exactly where the real butterfly effect begins. In chaos theory, the butterfly effect says that the simple flap of a butterfly's wings can create a hurricane on the other side of the world. But in real life, that flap of wings happens inside your mind. When you do something seemingly insignificant that changes everything later. It's not magic, it's psychology. Each small choice creates an invisible chain of reactions, thoughts, emotions, decisions. That's how today's whatever turns into tomorrow's "how did I end up here?" Think of something simple. You postpone a hard conversation. It doesn't seem like much, but that delay turns into silence. The silence becomes distance. And the distance becomes a broken relationship. Or you ignore a signal from your body, a pain, exhaustion. A month passes, a year passes, and suddenly your body collects the debt. The butterfly effect isn't about the size of the action, but about the time it has to grow inside you. And the problem is, we only notice when it's already turned into a storm. Most people think life changes with big decisions. I'll quit my job, I'll end this, I'll start over. But the truth is different. You began to change long before you decided. With every small choice, you were paving the road, even without realizing it. That's why nothing ever changes out of nowhere. The butterfly had already flapped its wings before. And if you're going through a hard time right now, it doesn't mean you did everything wrong. It only means that some small choices were made without awareness. But here's the point that almost no one notices. Even chaos has a logic. And if you learn to see that pattern, you can turn any storm into wind that moves in your favor. Yet almost no one sees the next step, and this is where things start to go wrong. When we try to control the future and end up repeating the past. When life starts to fall apart, our instinct is to fix everything at once. We want to erase the past, rush toward the future, and do everything right from now on. But that's exactly when the butterfly effect strikes again. Because trying to control the unpredictable is the fastest way to lose control all over again. What destroys you isn't the mistake itself. It's the unconscious repetition of the same mistake. And there's a psychological reason for that. The human brain hates emptiness. So when pain appears, it tries to fill it with familiar patterns, even if they're harmful. You go back to the same person, make the same kind of choice, accept the same kind of disrespect. Not because you want to suffer, but because your brain mistakes the familiar for safety. And the unknown, even if it's better, feels frightening. If this has ever happened to you, it's not weakness. It's emotional biology. You're not broken or unlucky. You're simply responding to the world with the tools you've learned to use, even if those tools no longer work. And recognizing that is the first step to breaking the cycle. And without realizing it, everything repeats. As if life had a hidden script you never wrote, but keep acting out. But there's one detail almost no one talks about. That script can be rewritten. And it doesn't start with grand gestures. It starts with the simple act of observing what you do on autopilot. But there's one part almost no one understands, and this is where everything changes. You can't control what the butterfly does, but you can choose the wind its wings will beat against. And when you understand that, chaos stops being the enemy. It becomes the map. Back at the beginning, I told you that every choice brought you here. Now it's time to understand what that really means. It wasn't destiny. It wasn't bad luck. It was a series of small decisions, some made out of fear, others in a rush, others without even realizing it. But here's the truth almost no one tells you. You can change the course of your life with the same power that once shaped it. The butterfly effect isn't a punishment. It's a neutral law. It works for both good and bad. In other words, if an unconscious choice can destroy you, a conscious one can rebuild you. You don't need a brand new beginning. You just need to become aware of the present moment, because this is where the next flap of wings happens. And this is where the story changes. If you're going through a hard time, don't try to fix the whole storm. Choose one small thing to change. Just one. Wake up and make your bed. Answer a message you've been avoiding. Take a step, even if you feel no strength. These are the butterfly's wings that build tomorrow. Change doesn't come from the big leap. It comes from small, consistent decisions made with awareness, the exact opposite of chaos. This doesn't mean you should ignore the pain or pretend everything's fine. It only means you still have power, even when everything feels out of control. Because real power was never about predicting the future, it's about acting with presence, right now. And that presence is what changes the wind. And if you've understood everything up to this point, congratulations. You're already part of the few who won't just scroll away and move on. But there's still one last thing that completes the picture. A simple truth, one that almost no one realizes until it's too late. Now you understand, the real-life butterfly effect was never about chaos. It's about awareness. The small decisions that hurt you were only reflections of what you didn't yet know about yourself. But the moment you start to notice, the exact moment you become aware of what you do on autopilot, that's when everything changes. It's not the past that holds you back. It's the unconscious repetition of it. And once you wake up, the past loses its power. Everything you are today is the result of millions of small choices, and everything you will become depends on the few you'll make next. There's no need to rush. The butterfly doesn't force the wind. It simply flaps its wings with intention. That's what creates movement. You don't need to know where everything will lead. You just need to take the next step with presence. And, in time, chaos reorganizes itself. So tell me, if every decision brought you to this video, what's the next one you'll make? You're not defined by what you did wrong. You're defined by what you choose to learn from it. Even the worst days have the power to redirect your path if you look at them with awareness, not guilt. The butterfly effect isn't the enemy. It's the reminder that the smallest gesture can still change everything. If this kind of truth makes you think and helps you see life more clearly, subscribe. Because here, every video is a new choice. And maybe, just maybe, that choice will be your next turning point. In the end, the secret isn't to control chaos. It's to learn how to dance with it. Because the wind always changes, but the one who decides the direction of the wings is you.